What if the real danger isn't stress itself, but the way your mind interprets everything that happens to you? Most people assume they're overwhelmed because life is hard, unfair, or unpredictable. But the Stoics understood this long before modern psychology confirmed it. You don't break because of events. You break because of the meaning you attach to those events. Stress and depression don't start outside you. They begin in that quiet split second between what happens and what your mind decides it means. That tiny space creates a loop. An event triggers a thought. The thought shapes an emotion. The emotion leads to a reaction, and the reaction intensifies the problem. The cycle repeats until you feel trapped inside your own life. But you're not trapped. Today, we're going to break that cycle. Not with hype, not with pretending things are fine, but with 8 Stoic principles that rebuild your mind into something steady, clear, and unshakable. Let's begin. 1. Stop fighting reality. Radical acceptance. Stress rarely starts with what happened to you. It begins the moment you decide it shouldn't have happened. That's the invisible internal war most people are fighting without even noticing. A conversation doesn't unfold the way you hoped. Someone doesn't treat you how you wanted. Plans don't play out the way you pictured them. And instantly, your mind rises into resistance. This is wrong. This shouldn't be happening. This isn't fair. This can't be real. But here's the Stoic truth. Reality doesn't care about expectations. Reality doesn't bargain. Reality doesn't pause so you can catch your breath or reorganize your feelings. Reality simply is. And the more you push against it, the more it wears you down. People assume stress comes from pressure, conflict, problems, or responsibilities. But most stress actually comes from that silent tension, the gap between how you want life to be and how life actually is. Every time you reject the truth of your situation, your body tightens, your mind spins, and your emotions create friction. It's like wrestling a wall with full force and expecting it to move. It won't. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He lived through betrayal, sickness, war, loss, and political chaos. Yet he wrote calmly in his journal, "Accept everything that happens as if you chose it." Not because everything is pleasant, not because pain is enjoyable, but because acceptance returns your power. When you stop fighting reality, you stop draining energy into things that cannot be altered. You stop wasting strength on what already occurred. You stop arguing with the past, and suddenly a new inner space opens, a space where clarity exists, where answers show up, where peace finally returns. Radical acceptance is not quitting. It's the opposite. It's ending a battle you could never win so you can finally fight the ones that matter. Anger, denial, resentment, resistance, none of these solve anything. They just freeze you inside the problem. Acceptance melts that ice. It lets you move again. Think of the last time you were stressed. Was it the event or the meaning you added? Was it the situation or your refusal to let it be what it was? The truth hits hard. You suffer more from the story in your mind than the reality in front of you. And you can change that story starting now. Start by separating fact from interpretation. There is what actually happened, and then there is the story you created around it. When these two mix together, overwhelm increases. But when you pull them apart, you regain control. Whenever something stressful occurs, pause and ask yourself, what is the fact? What is the story I'm adding? What happens if I accept the fact without the extra story? You'll notice how quickly your mind relaxes when you stop fighting reality. Acceptance is not the final step. It's the first one. Once you accept things as they are, you can finally work within them. That's where your strength begins to grow. Second, learn to guide the stories in your mind. Direct your inner narrative. If the situation itself is the first cause of stress, The story your mind creates about that situation is the second, and usually the most harmful. Two people can face the exact same event, yet one collapses while the other stays steady. Why? Because they didn't experience the same internal story. Your mind is always narrating. It fills gaps, imagines motives, predicts outcomes, and exaggerates threats. It tries to keep you safe, but often ends up increasing your suffering. Stress doesn't come from the moment itself. It comes from the story your mind writes the instant the moment appears. Someone doesn't reply to your message. Your mind whispers, "They're ignoring you." Your chest tightens. A coworker walks past without smiling. Your mind says, "They're upset with you." Your stomach drops. A plan shifts unexpectedly. Your mind claims everything is falling apart. Your energy crashes instantly, but none of these are facts. They are interpretations, assumptions, projections, fear-based fiction dressed as truth. Epictetus said, "Men are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them." Your view is the issue, and your view is also the solution. Most people never pause long enough to question the story their mind produces. They just absorb it, merge with it, drown in it, and once you accept a story as truth, your emotions obey it completely. That's how stress becomes your default, not because life is unbearable, but because the story you tell yourself is. So how do you break free? Catch the story as it forms. When something stressful happens, the untrained mind jumps straight to interpretation. This means I failed. This means they don't care. This means I'm not good enough. This means it's over. This means something bad is coming. But a trained Stoic mind pauses and asks, what else could this mean? That question cracks the story open. It lets air and light into the mental space that used to suffocate you. Suddenly, silence doesn't mean rejection. It might mean busyness, distraction, or nothing significant at all. A change of plan doesn't equal disaster. It could be redirection, preparation, or protection. A mistake doesn't equal failure. It equals growth, experience, humility. Notice what happens. Stress dissolves when the story shifts. Because stress is a story. Peace is also a story. And you get to choose which one you live inside. When your mind creates a dramatic narrative, don't fight it, rewrite it. Describe the event in one neutral sentence, only the fact, without emotion or added meaning. Then ask, what is the calmest, clearest, most neutral way to see this moment? At first, your brain will resist. It loves drama. It loves familiar emotional patterns. But with practice, this becomes natural. You start living in clarity instead of chaos. Reality stays the same, but your experience transforms. The Stoics didn't eliminate emotions. They eliminated the meanings that distorted them. 3. Detach from what you can't control. The control compass. If you want to understand why stress dominates your life, examine where your energy goes. Most suffering comes from investing your attention into things you were never supposed to control. You try to control what people think of you. You try to control how situations unfold. You try to control outcomes, timing, reactions, luck, circumstances, and even the emotions of other people. And the more you attempt to manage what was never yours in the first place, the more drained, anxious, and powerless you begin to feel. It's like trying to hold the ocean still with your bare hands. No matter how intensely you try, the waves keep moving, and every attempt to force them only leaves you more overwhelmed. The Stoics saw this as one of the greatest errors of the human mind, confusing what belongs to you with what doesn't. Epictetus taught that real freedom starts the moment you divide life into two regions: what is within your power and what isn't. Your actions are yours. Your choices are yours. Your attitude is yours. Your discipline, effort, and character, those are yours. But what others think, what they choose, how events unfold, how quickly results show up, whether someone loves you or not. None of that is yours. You can influence some things. You can hope for better outcomes. You can participate, contribute, prepare, and support. But actual control belongs only to a very small corner of your life. And yet, humans instinctively cling to everything outside that small circle and then wonder why their minds eventually collapse under the pressure. Stress thrives in the space between your desire to control everything and reality's refusal to obey your wishes. But when you detach from what isn't yours, stress has nowhere left to exist. Think about how much worry comes from trying to manage people's opinions. You replay conversations to confirm you didn't say anything wrong. You overthink every message because you don't want to disappoint anyone. You adjust your choices based on what you imagine someone might feel. But no matter how perfect you try to be, you cannot control someone else's mind. You also cannot control outcomes. You can give your absolute best, but results belong to the universe, not you. When you tie your peace to how things turn out, you become emotionally chained to uncertainty, and uncertainty will always drown you. The Stoic way doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean surrender either. It means shifting your entire energy into the only domain where it truly makes an impact. Your effort, your clarity, your values, your choices. When you focus only on what is genuinely yours, your mental burden drops instantly. You stop chasing, you stop forcing, you stop gripping life so tightly that you suffocate yourself. You stop expecting the world to bend perfectly in your direction. You stop begging reality to match your script. And for the first time, you begin to live in a state most people never experience. Light, calm, solid, steady. 4. Break emotional loops before they take over. Stress rarely begins as a disaster. It begins as a spark, a tiny emotional reaction. And then your mind adds fuel until that spark becomes a fire you can no longer contain. The truth is, most people don't suffer from emotions themselves. They suffer from the loops those emotions create. A loop begins with something small, someone's tone, a short pause, a comment, a delay, a mistake, a silence. Something shifts outside you and a faint emotional signal rises within. But instead of noticing it, you react to it, you analyze it, you judge it, you add meaning to it, you amplify it. And suddenly, that simple feeling becomes 10 times heavier than it ever needed to be. This is how the mind traps itself. Emotion, interpretation, physical reaction, more emotion, a deeper interpretation. Full spiral. You're not stressed because the original emotion was big. You're stressed because it dragged you into the loop. The Stoics mastered a skill most people never learn, the ability to interrupt the loop before it grows claws. They understood that an emotion is not a command. It's not your identity. It's not destiny. It's a wave, something that rises, peaks, and falls if you don't feed it. But when you attach stories, judgment, fear, or resistance to that wave, you turn it into a storm. Here's what most people do when they feel something uncomfortable. They panic, they overthink, they rush to escape the feeling. They try to fix everything instantly. They assume the emotion means something is wrong. They assume it will last forever. They assume it defines who they are. And the loop tightens. One spark becomes a wildfire because your mind keeps blowing air into it. The Stoic approach is completely different. When emotion rises, they don't suppress it, but they don't jump into it either. They step back, they observe, they breathe, they pause. They create distance between the emotion and the reaction. That distance is everything. That space is power. That small, calm gap is what separates a stable mind from a mind that collapses at every small wave. When you interrupt the loop early, you stop the spiral before it gains strength. You prevent the mind from adding unnecessary meaning. You stop the body from triggering a full stress response. You prevent the story from turning into a nightmare. Think about the last time you spiraled emotionally. Was it truly because the original feeling was too intense? Or because you kept revisiting it, replaying it, enlarging it, imagining more than what was there? You repeated the thought until it felt like reality. You held on to the feeling long enough for it to bury itself inside you and turn into stress. 5. Build mental immunity through discomfort. If you want a mind that doesn't break, you can't live a life that never tests you. One of the biggest reasons people shatter under pressure today is simple. They are mentally undertrained. Modern life surrounds you with comfort, temperature-controlled rooms, instant entertainment, convenience everywhere, shortcuts for everything, minimal friction and minimal challenge. Comfort feels good until it makes you fragile. When your mind never meets discomfort on purpose, even the smallest discomfort feels unbearable. A tiny inconvenience feels like a crisis. A minor setback feels like an attack. A small mistake feels like total failure. A neutral change in tone feels like rejection. Life becomes heavy not because life itself is heavy, but because your tolerance for difficulty has collapsed. The Stoics understood this long before we did. They practiced voluntary discomfort, not to suffer, but to become unbreakable. They exposed themselves to things most people avoid: cold, hunger, silence, simplicity, uncertainty, challenge. Not because they enjoyed hardship, but because it trained the mind to stay calm when life became rough. Their logic was simple. If you choose discomfort in small doses, the big discomforts of life lose their threat. Think of discomfort like a vaccine. A small controlled dose builds immunity. You don't become fearless by running away from fear. You become fearless by approaching it intentionally. Every time you choose something slightly uncomfortable, your mind learns 3 life-changing lessons. You can survive difficulty, you can stay steady under pressure, and you are stronger than your impulses. Those lessons become mental armor. Look at your own life. When was the last time you deliberately chose something hard? Not by accident, not because you had no choice, but as training. Most people never do. They avoid cold. They avoid silence. They avoid the difficult conversation. They avoid any situation that creates friction. But here's the paradox. The more comfort you chase, the more stress finds you. And the more discomfort you embrace, the more inner peace you build. Discomfort teaches discipline. Discomfort teaches resilience. Discomfort teaches emotional control. Discomfort teaches you that feelings are signals, not dictators. You don't need extreme challenges. You just need something that disrupts your comfort cycle. A cold shower, a challenging workout, tackling the hardest task first thing in the morning, a walk without your phone, an hour of stillness, a moment of silence when your mind wants escape. Each is a small battle, and each small victory prepares you for the larger battles in life. The goal isn't to chase pain, the goal is to build a mind that doesn't collapse the moment life stops being soft. A stress-proof mind isn't something you're born with, it's something you train. 6. Rebuild your identity, not your mood. Most people try to solve stress by fixing how they feel. But feelings are unstable, they rise and fall. They shift with sleep, weather, hormones, other people, pressure, memory, and 1,000 things you cannot control. If you build your life around your moods, your life will always be unstable. Stoicism teaches something different. Don't fix the mood, strengthen the identity behind the mood. Stress keeps returning, not because your emotions are too powerful, but because the version of you trying to handle them is too fragile, too reactive, too attached, or too undefined. Once you rebuild your identity, your emotional patterns start reorganizing themselves without force. Think of identity as the operating system of your mind. If the system is weak, even a small emotional glitch crashes everything. But if the system is strong, the same glitch becomes nothing more than a harmless notification, easy to acknowledge, impossible to destabilize. So ask yourself, who are you when pressure arrives? Who are you when life stops cooperating? Who are you when someone disappoints you, ignores you, or disrespects you? Who are you when uncertainty shows up without warning? Most people never answer these questions. Their identity becomes whatever their mood decides in the moment. If the mood is anxious, they become anxious. If the mood is insecure, they become insecure. If the mood is overwhelmed, they become overwhelmed. This is how stress slowly turns into identity. Not because life is unbearable, but because emotions have been given the authority to define who you are. Stoicism reverses this completely. Identity defines emotion, not the other way around. When you choose the identity of a calm person, stress loses its leverage. When you choose the identity of a disciplined person, excuses fade. When you choose the identity of a resilient person, setbacks turn into training, not trauma. Your emotions still rise, but they rise inside the container of a stronger self. And the container sets the limits. This is why strengthening identity matters more than chasing a better mood. Mood is temporary. Identity is architecture. Take a moment and define the version of you that stress cannot break. The version that stays centered, doesn't chase validation, acts instead of reacts, and stays steady even when life gets unpredictable. Then, align your actions with that identity. Not your feelings, your actions. One action repeated becomes a pattern becomes a habit becomes character, and character becomes identity. 7. Create a life structure that eliminates stress. Stress doesn't always come from emotional injuries or dramatic moments. Most of the time, stress comes from something much simpler, a life with no structure. When your days are chaotic, your mind becomes chaotic. When your environment pulls you in many different directions, your attention breaks apart. When your time is unmanaged, your emotions follow the same path, scattered, unstable, and easily overwhelmed. Most people don't have a stress problem. They have a structure problem. They wake up with no grounding. They spend the day reacting to whatever shows up. Notifications set their priorities. Other people's urgency guides their decisions. Random situations decide their mood, and then they wonder why their mind feels heavy. The Stoics lived differently. Their calm wasn't accidental, it was designed. They built their peace on structure, a steady mind supported by a steady day. The truth is simple. When your life has no rhythm, your emotions will always fall out of tune. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed. Was it because something catastrophic happened? Or was it because 10 small things piled up at once? A messy room, an unpredictable schedule, unfinished tasks, poor rest, no clarity. And suddenly your mind felt like it was drowning, even though nothing major was wrong. This is the cost of reactive living. Your mind becomes a battlefield of loose ends. A structured life does the opposite. It protects your energy, stabilizes your mood, and gives your mind a predictable place to rest. You don't need extreme discipline. You just need anchors, simple, intentional checkpoints that bring your mind back to center. A morning anchor sets your direction. It tells your mind, we begin with clarity, not chaos. This can be stillness, journaling, stretching, cold exposure, a quiet walk, anything that grounds you before the world touches you. A midday anchor resets your mind. It breaks the momentum of mental noise. Even 2 minutes of breathing, reflection, or stepping outside can prevent an emotional spiral. An evening anchor restores your order. It closes the loops of the day so they don't follow you into sleep. A tidy room, a brief reflection, a plan for tomorrow, small acts that remove uncertainty from your mind. 3. Simple anchors can stabilize an entire life. But structure isn't just about time, it's also about environment. If your space is cluttered, your mind is cluttered. If your digital world is chaotic, your attention is scattered. If your surroundings are noisy, you carry noise inside. A structured environment creates internal silence. It lowers emotional friction. It gives your mind room to breathe. And here's the deeper truth. Structure creates safety, and safety calms the nervous system at a biological level. Your body physically relaxes when it knows what to expect. 8. Live in neutrality, not emotional extremes. Most people spend their entire lives swinging between emotional highs and emotional crashes. One moment they feel in control, the next they're overwhelmed. One message changes their mood. One setback ruins their day. One misunderstanding destroys their peace. Not because they are weak, but because they never learned the Stoic ability that stabilizes the mind and protects it from being thrown off balance. Emotional neutrality. Neutrality is not the same as indifference. Neutrality isn't coldness. Neutrality isn't about disconnecting from life. Neutrality is inner balance. It's the capacity to stay centered while emotions rise and fall around you, just like a mountain that stands firm even when storms collide with it. Emotional extremes drain you. They consume mental energy, weaken your discipline, and warp your sense of reality. You cannot think clearly when you're overly excited, and you absolutely can't think clearly when you're too scared, too furious, or too wounded. Neutrality shields you from both ends. It prevents your mind from jumping to dramatic conclusions when something feels uncomfortable. It stops your emotions from taking over your decisions. It gives you the power to respond instead of react, to choose clarity over chaos, even when your body wants to panic. Most stress comes from overreacting, not from the situation itself. Something small happens and instantly your mind builds a narrative. This is bad. This is personal. This is risky. This means something about me. This will escalate. And suddenly, your body responds as if everything is collapsing. But the Stoics lived another way. They learned to feel emotions without becoming the emotion. They allowed sensations to move through them without attaching identity, meaning, or judgment. They treated emotions like weather, something to notice, not something to follow. Your feelings rise, you acknowledge them, your chest tightens, you breathe into the tension, your mind begins to dramatize, you step back and watch the story forming. This simple awareness breaks the momentum of emotional extremes, because it's never the first emotion that destroys you, it's the chain reaction that comes after. Neutrality is the ability to interrupt that chain. Imagine someone insults you. The untrained mind reacts immediately. Anger, embarrassment, defensiveness, spiraling thoughts. The neutral mind pauses. Is this really about me or about them? Is this worth my peace? Does this situation require a reaction? Most of the time, the answer is no. Imagine something unexpected happens. A plan shifts, a delay appears, a problem shows up. Without neutrality, your mind drops into frustration. With neutrality, you simply recognize the moment. This is the situation. I can handle it. Neutrality creates emotional space. Space to think, space to choose, space to stay grounded even when life is not. When you train neutrality, your emotions don't disappear. They just stop controlling your entire reality. If you've stayed with this message until now, remember this: stress and depression don't have power over you. They only influence the version of you that existed before you learned these principles. Now you understand how to break cycles, rewrite your inner story, Detach from what you can't control, and build a mind that remains calm regardless of what life throws your way. Practice these tools for just 24 hours and you'll sense the difference. More peace, more clarity, more strength. Thank you for watching. Take these lessons and live them. Your new life begins the moment you choose to think like a Stoic.